Let me start off with the childcare. You know, how kerekeng ba re o tsamaile modimo haka. You know, it's like the message was, you were talking to me. I hope the message no tsama modimo alona. I am not going to be replacing vehicles after vehicles with you writing off the vehicles. I need to start internally and say, we can only do so much. The rest is upon you. We can only do so much to ensure that you don't get packed in a quantum while we have bought vehicles that you write off in a space of 3 months. You know the amount of vehicles that you've written off in the last 3 months. We're not gonna go there, but we will treat it differently going forward. It's not going to be that you've written off a car and there's a quick accident report and then we forget about it. If negligence is found to be on your side going forward, you will take full responsibility for that. We cannot afford to use taxpayers' money to replace negligence. We can, if it's an accident, deal with it. But if it's negligence, you will take the full rep for it. Let me say that during my State of the City address, I did lament on the issue of cable and cable theft and how much it's costing the city of Tshwane. Not only is it costing the city, in the last year alone, if you were to calculate from 2017 to this year, almost 120 million rand has been lost due to cable. And we're just talking cable, we're not talking the amount of economic opportunity that has been lost. We're not talking to the amount of hours that people have to put in overtime and in normal hours in repairing and replacing that shouldn't have been stolen. So we've decided that instead of just complaining and throwing our hands in the air, we are going to capacitate our men and women in uniform and say, we are now entrusting the safety, and not only the safety, but the economic growth of this city in your hands. This city cannot grow at a speed that we want it to grow if investors feel that investing in Tshwane equals to investing in a city that doesn't guarantee me electricity, doesn't guarantee me water, doesn't guarantee my safety. And therefore we are saying we are now investing in our own infrastructure. We're investing in the protection of that same infrastructure to ensure that going forward, we are able to then begin to see the results. It is important to also note that as we are now investing in these vehicles, we decided to take a different approach because we've realized that the criminals decide to go where your normal Metro Police vehicle will not be able to go. So you can't be sending a Corolla off-roading. So these are some of the vehicles that have been there before, the little Corollas that have been there, the BMWs that have been there. We've decided to buy proper vehicles that will be able to go off-roading and go and patrol our cables where they need to be patrolled to ensure that our mini-subs and our substations are patrolled and are indeed protected. In total, more than 103 vehicles have been bought. And we are going to share them amongst a number of departments, but mainly within the Metro Police Department, specifically towards the cable theft unit. We have taken a little bit of flag when people were saying Metro Police are using vehicles that have the water and sanitation vehicles. And we're saying we're returning those vehicles. I hope that you didn't damage all of them. We can return them in one piece. And you can then take ownership of these vehicles here to ensure that we are able to protect our VIPs, the residents of our city. Let me also say that we're handing over this facility, or we're handing over this property to ensure that we don't have a repeat of what we had in Vapatrand. The substation in Vapatrand was caused, as we are told, by an in-shock or a backfeeder that happened because of a cable that had been tampered with. So it actually sent back, the electricity and fire back into the substation, which caused the substation to catch fire. And I think all of you know what happened there. We need to make sure that the people of Hammanskraal don't ever have to be subjected to drinking dirty water or contaminated water because Rooiwal would have been tampered with, or Temba purification plant would have been tampered with. So we're investing in you guys to help in protecting and to ensure that the city is actually moving forward. I've had a meeting with the other two mayors of the metros in Johannesburg and in Ekurhuleni. And we said that we've realized that there's quite a lot that is happening amongst or around Gauteng in terms of the issue of cable theft. But we've also realized that we will not be able to do this if we are only reliant on ourselves and on the resources that we have, the human capital resources that we have and other resources. If we're not going to be getting the assistance of the South African police services, if we're not going to be getting the assistance of the national intelligence, if we're not going to be getting the assistance of the prosecuting authority, we will not be able to win. Because some of you have said, Mayor, you send us to go and arrest. We arrest these people. 2 days later, you're arresting the same person again. Because it hasn't really come to a point where it's biting, where these criminals will know that it doesn't help, or it will help you for a few minutes, but if you are caught, you are going to go to jail for a very, very, very long time. So that is something that I think we are now ready as the 3 metros around Gauteng to approach the president, to approach the premier and say, we have gone through a rigorous plan of what we are doing at a municipal level, but it's high time the provincial government and the national government really steps in and assists us to ensure that when we arrest these guys, that they really go and face some serious jail time. And the concentration should never be at a national level, at an intelligence level. The concentration should not just be on the one that is digging the ground. The concentration should also be at the one that is actually the syndicate head, the kingpins. Because I've always said this, I've raised this argument before, that South Africa is the biggest exporter of copper in Africa. The biggest exporter of copper, but we don't even have a big enough copper mine in Africa, in South Africa, to be exporting as much copper as we are exporting. So that tells you that there is a syndicate that is able to coordinate and put all of this together, and we need to make sure that we are able to then stop the supply or the demand at a high level, so that the supply can actually stop on the ground. So I want to say to the team that has heard my cry when I said let's do this, that you've heard me and we've actually worked on ensuring that we're able to work around this. Let me give the members of the media some figures so that you understand how much really it has cost the municipality in the last year. So in Region 1, in the first 6 months, we have had 1,160 cases of cable theft, which amounted to 61.7 million rand. This is now in the first 6 months of the financial year, from last year June to December. In December, in areas like Soshanguve, in Klerksdorp, in Roslyn Gardens, in Winterveld, in Anlin, in Onderstepoort, in Wonderboom, in Dertepoort, in Artridgeville, in Fort Zeg, in Lotus Gardens, in Pretoria West, in Waterkloof, in Linwood. And also, if you look at areas like in Region 4, where you have 73 specific incidences in Swartkop and in Valhalla area alone, 32 incidences in Claudius, 30 incidences in Raslow, 16 incidences in Lodium, 11 incidences in Eldorain, 10 incidences in Doornkloof, 7 incidences in Irene, 6 in Brakfontein Supply, 6 in De Hoevens, and 5 in Noordwes. Also in Zukegat, in Refilwe, in Wycloof, Grasfontein, Mamelodi, Pretoria East, Mears Park, Nelmapias, Zitobeni, Ekangala, Brongospruit, and Rima Park. I think you can then see where these guys are operating. So perhaps the intelligence within the TMPD also now needs to kick in and say, how do we ensure that we are able to strengthen the patrol? And I see some members of the South African Police Services as well. We're pleading that let's join hands so that we are able to then fight the scourge together. Because it becomes a bigger problem when companies decide to disinvest in your city or in your country, because then you have more and more people who are unemployed, and more unemployment you have, more social problems that you're going to have. That's when you have more criminal activities that are taking place. That's when you have more domestic violence that is taking place amongst our communities. So we need to make sure that we protect the investment that we have so that we can grow it a whole lot more going forward. The people of Mamelodi have complained that almost on a weekly basis they have to suffer 3 or 4 outages because of cables that are stolen around the Waterloo area there. The people of Raslow have complained about what is happening in the particular areas. And so we now need to make sure that we are able to protect this infrastructure. But I want to plead as well with our residents. The men in uniform and the officials can only do so much. They can only do so much, but we need our residents to also play their part in this. You know who's buying the copper. You know where the copper is being stripped and bent. You know who is the coordinator in a particular area. We are asking for that information so that we can really bring this to a complete stop. We can only do so much if we are going to be working together. We as a city of Tshwane are investing close on 1.5 billion rand a year in our metropolis, or in the security of our people, meaning throughout the tenders of security companies and the salaries of our metropolis and the running of the department itself. So we are pumping almost 1.5 billion rand into this, but it's not going to be enough if we are not going to be able to hold hands and work together in ensuring that we are able to permanently drive this scourge to levels where it's almost non-existent. We are going to be taking as well a report to council this coming Thursday, where we will be talking about the employment of extra security personnel, and also in addition to the Metro Police officers that we have, and additional Metro Police officers, to ensure that we are able to then beef up the security and to beef up law and order in our city. And I want to say to my men and women in uniform, we can only invest so much. The rest, we need to depend on you to do what needs to be done. I usually stop when I see a Metro Police who's standing on the side of the road and is giving somebody a ticket, or is stopping a taxi, or is stopping a car while somebody is starting a fire on the side of the road. It then says that we are not doing everything that we're supposed to be doing, and we need to be doing law and order comprehensively. We need to have a clean city. We need to have a city that residents know that the rule of law is the rule of law, and it's going to be applied equally across the city as well. So I want to say thank you very much, City Manager, for hearing my cry when I say let's do something about this. And I'm excited that we are now going to finally take a report to council, where we begin to employ more personnel to assist us with the work that needs to be done. It's going to take some time. We are going to do it through a number of years until we get the right numbers that we require to be able to do everything that we're supposed to be doing. But I'm glad that we are now giving our men and women in uniform the right tools to go and do what they now need to do. So you will be getting your night vision goggles, so that even at night you can then see where the criminals are not able to see you. You'll be able to then see anything and everything that you now need to see to ensure that these areas are protected. And I'm hoping that when we do gather some time in the near future, we'll be talking about a drastic reduction in the theft of cable, and also in the vandalism of our infrastructure, because that is the only way that we can invest more in buying you more of the required equipment. So I hope that it's something that we are going to be taking very, very seriously. And I want to say that as we are about to then go and view these vehicles, let me plead with you again. As Ntate Moruti has said, if you're not going to be taking care of the small things that you have, how much more can we trust you with? But if you can trust, or if you can protect this little that we are giving you right now, and to make sure that you use it purposefully and to create a bigger impact, then you are releasing much more, or you are actually ensuring that we are able to have much more resources to invest more, to give you much more. So we are pleading with you, as we are pleading with our residents, when we fight or when we argue about service delivery, let us not destroy our infrastructure, because our vehicles get stoned when there's issues of service delivery protest. Let's not destroy what we have looking for what we are, or in search of what we are looking for, but let us protect what we have so that we can get more of what we need. So I want to say to you, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we will now go and inspect the vehicles.